Well, have in mind, let's take a sort of marriage situation. She loves knitting, but he loves fishing. I don't want to do knitting, and she doesn't want to do fishing. But if we go fishing together, but she's not going to fish, she's going to sit there while I fish. She's going to do her knitting. At some point we both get a bit tired and we think we'll have tea, and we brought a picnic. So we have a picnic together. She talks about the problem of her knitting, whether it's going to fit her grandson. I talk about the problem of fishing in that, well, it helps if it rains. The fish tend to come to the surface and find the bait and so on, you know. Then we go back to doing what we want until we get tired and it's late. And should we go home now, love? She's done enough knitting. She's rather pleased. She's done most of the front of the cardigan she's making, and he's quite pleased because he's caught whatever it was and so forth. And it's been rather a nice day, and we'll go home and I don't know, watch our favourite program. Perhaps it's the news. We both appreciate the news. And we talk about the news and have supper and go to bed, curl up. She's happy to go to sleep. You're happy to go to sleep. It's been a nice day together. Love you, sweetheart. Do you see they're different? They're individual people. But they found something that's a harmony. Whereas, supposing, for argument's sake, she does Sudoku and it fascinates her. He, on the other hand, does his computing. That fascinates him. Oh, well, they could both be in the same room together. And the same applies as with fishing and knitting, you know. But supposing he loves a social life, lots of people and conversations and discussions and arguments and meeting new people and so on. And she doesn't. She likes being at home, quiet, you know, cat on her lap and doing Sudoku. Oh. Well, he goes off in his social life. She stays at home doing her Sudoku. When they get tired, they may come together, but it may not coincide. You know, his social life's finished, he's come home, he's ready for tea, but she's not. She's still wants to do her Sudoku and she's not tired yet. So he sort of fills in until, you know, in other words, they're in inharmony. Now you could say, well, a safe thing is when they both basically do the same thing and they're basically the same. They get tired at the same time, so they rest at the same time. They eat together and then they go off and do an activity together. They walk together through life. I mean, I'm not saying anything. I'm not sure how profound, but there's a difference between a requirement that we're all the same and a requirement that we're simply in harmony. And we try to choose people where we're in harmony. You know, some people very much hold that marriage should be made of different characters coming together, each supplying something that the other doesn't have. in some sense, but in harmony. And there's another view that, oh no, they should all come from the same, they should both come from the same background, same values, same interests, same philosophy. Well, I can see there's a safety in that. But I wonder if it loses its vitality after a while. If you like, they're both very set in their ways. And perhaps life is rather dead. On the other hand, with the mixture and the variety, it may be that life is very unstable. And they could run into situations of inharmony and therefore be driven apart. Is that necessarily bad? No, perhaps life is variety and we need a whole variety of experience. Perhaps just a continual, endless experience. Makes you wonder what the meaning of life is after a while. Not sure. What do you think? Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, hang on, perhaps I do know. My most enjoyed state is unquestionably that I'm in love. And I feel my partner's just, she's a joy to be with. And I want all the time with her, awake and asleep. And to do something without her just isn't meaningful. I want to share it with her. Have an experience of being in love, you see. I mean, I've been in love several times, to say the least. You could say, oh, you've never been in love at all in that case. Well, I agree, it hasn't been permanent. It hasn't lasted forever, but it has lasted an incredibly long time. I mean, formally my marriages were 18 years and 7 years. In terms of harmony and sheer love of being with each other, I would say they're substantially part of each of that, even with the last one, the first 4 years or so, were absolutely on cloud 9. And with the first marriage, it wasn't intense type being in love. It was a commitment, most fulfilling relationship, being in love. For most of its 18 years. You know, the other person is so important to you. With the second marriage, intensely in love. It was just everything to me, of joy, of just delight to be with. Until she got preoccupied with well, it sounds trivial, but sort of Sudoku and no longer dressed lovely for me. I wasn't somehow a source of her happiness towards the end. I was shattered. My solution was I started to join things and have other friendships. I don't mean other women, don't get me wrong, but just the social life, church life, in fact, and she didn't want to come and join in such things. And I just lost her. And with the third, well, when she had her baby, it's as if she switched. She could focus on one person, me or baby. And suddenly you were history. You didn't matter anymore. And, I took philosophically, well, she needs to be fulfilled. Having a bub, I can just make it more possible that she be fulfilled, and that'll be lovely. I'll be appreciated. But you weren't. Whatever it wasn't enough. Oh dear. And she had a girlfriend. They were like two lovers with each other. I don't know if there was actually any sexual thing between the two, but it was a disaster. It was an utter disaster. I couldn't keep this lady out of my house. She was getting divorced from her academic husband too. And they were like two pizza and pod. I'd had it. And I knew he'd had it too. His life ended in cataclysmic physical disaster that's left him speechless and in care. And I was left bereft. Everything gone. Everything I valued. And as you know, I turned the more heavily, the more faithfully, the more earnestly to God. I'd no choice. This wasn't some heroic thing. By the grace of God, I came through. More than came through. I've been incredibly blessed by the situation. But I don't like to think of the loss of that lovely relationship that I had for the first 4 or so years. And I hadn't managed to have the intensity of the relationship with God that I've had with wives, partners. But with the relationship with God, it's different. It's like a blessed assurance. A meaning to life. A deep meeting of needs that sustains each difficulty. I don't mean that I can't imagine a difficulty that would swamp me. I can, if you like, something where my faith wouldn't be up to it, wouldn't carry me through. But my experience is that it's carried me through a great disaster several times. Loss of a loved one. And that's astonishing. Is a faithfulness, a permanence of relationship that I can't find in the world. You could say I'm seeking it in another dimension, heavenly dimension. And in some sense have found it. Yeah. Let me pause. Let me listen to this again. Well, I have listened to it again. I think I'll finish this recording here. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, that's a strange one, isn't it? It does occur to me that as an objective observation, both the first and the third wife suffered terribly from depression. The third only became more and more depressed. But the first, she had every type of depression that a woman gets, and the menopause was just the marriage. No way you could survive it. That was the end. Postnatal depression nearly wrecked it, except that I had the solution of staying at home looking after baby and her going back to work instead, and that seemed to work. We got through. The second wife, I could say, well, she also became depressed, but that may have been because in some sense the marriage was not satisfying for whatever reason. I'm not clear, because we'd been passionately in love with each other. And for a sustained period of time, not just 3 years or something, we were together 18 years, and most of it was just fine. Lovely. Yeah. And of course, the other observation is terribly obvious, and that is to say that a relationship with a partner is it's physical, in that you have the partner there, quite apart from whether you make love or not. You do things together in a very physical way. You go out together, you go to dinner together, you go shopping together, you drive together, you may work together. Yeah. But with God, in this world, you don't have his physical presence. And I assume that in some sense in the next world, well, do I expect to have the physical presence of God? I was going to say, or is God just in thought, even then? But then I suppose that it's all in thought. Heaven is non-physical. What do you think of that?